So the Echo drill has two seed boxes in it. One is for the very small seeds, and then there's the large seed box. The large seed box has a baffle in it. We need to take a look at that, which we'll see here shortly. That baffle, we have that open for like hairy seeds or fuzzy seeds, seeds that want to bridge inside there. And then we have cereal grains that we put in. We want that baffle closed, and what that does is it keeps all that weight off of our meters inside there. Okay, and so we're going to look at that right now. So here we are on top of the drill. We're going to take a look at the baffles in the main seed box, and that's the large one. The baffles are there to keep the weight off of the metering system that's down there. The reason we would have those baffles is to be used for the wheat, oats, barley, triticale, those types of seeds, even corn, we would have these baffles down. If we have any seed that has a tendency to bridge, we will therefore open these baffles up, okay? And we're going to look at that right now. So these are held normally down this way here for our cereal grains, and we would open these up like this for any seed that will bridge, and that would be like a hairy seed, very small seeds, anything that bridges. Okay? One of the features of this drill, which everyone likes, is the spacings of the coulters and the openers. They're sitting right at about 5.5 inches, which in normal in this area would be like 7.5 inches. They do give us the opportunity or the advantage to block out each one of these coulters, and we use these plates. These plates are in your toolbox at the very bottom, and they're just a galvanized rectangle plate, and they fit down inside the bottom of the box here, which we're going to show you now. Ready? Pretty self-explanatory. They fit right down in the opener areas, but each one of the openers has one of these keys on there. We need to make sure we remove these keys. If not, when it rotates, it will actually hit these plates and it'll bend these clips, okay? And they fit right down in here. So this drill, we have the opportunity to have two seed bins. We have the large seed bin and we have the small one. This is usually used for like native types of seeds. We can see that it's much smaller, and we probably use that as a lower rate. However, you can use the large seed bin as well as the little one. So we can have two different seeds being planted. We can have an alfalfa, say, in here, or a grass in here, and along with, say, an oats or something. We seed them all at the same time. It's a great advantage with this drill.
When you're calibrating the drill for large seeds in the large seed box, the instructions and the seed rates are here on the lid, and we encourage you to follow those explicitly. We have a plastic that goes underneath the openers, and we'll show you where that is to collect the seed under the drill. And then there's a drive wheel that is actually contacting the ground as you're pulling the drill across the field, which drives the feed rate of the seed. So you'll turn that 66 times. Once you have seed in the large seed box, you'll turn that 66 times, and that equals 1/10 of an acre. And so this will give 1/10 of the pounds per acre that you want to sow. Then you would multiply that times 10 to give you the actual seed weight that you're actually seeding per acre. Example, if you sow 20 pounds per acre, you should get 2 pounds of seed on the tarp underneath the drill for your calibration trial. If you want 35 pounds per acre, you should get 3.5 pounds every 66 turns. So in reality, it takes 657 turns of the acre of the wheel, the drive wheel, for 1 acre. Follow this explicitly. It's excellent. It's right on. In fact, it gives you the settings on the gearbox setting for the different varieties of seed, and we found that that's very accurate. So if you didn't want to calibrate yourself, you could just use this chart. If your seed is very dirty or irregular, you might want to calibrate. If you're seeding small seed like grasses, alfalfa, clovers, teff grass seed, the small seed box would be your best choice. And the seed box settings are here. They're very accurate, but you can also calibrate it using the tarp underneath the drill with 66 revolutions of the drive wheel, just like the instructions up here. I would recommend always using the small seed box for small seeds. If you use the big seed box, your seed's just going to go through too quickly. To set your feed rate on the small seed box is you just loosen this handle and you move it according to your dial up here, A, B, C, D, E, F, all the way through for the seed rate, and that will give you your poundage. Follow the seed charts. They're very reliable. If you do calibrate the drill, the tarp is located in this box. Just pull the tarp out. And place the tarp underneath the openers.
Okay, so we're gonna lay the tarp underneath the openers of the drill. Make sure we have the drill in the air, obviously. We put it in the forward opener. You got it there, Wes?
Yep, I'm there.
And that's all there is to that. We're doing this to catch the seed, as Wes is gonna go ahead and rotate the drive gear sprocket in the correct direction. We have to make sure we run it in the correct direction. And when we do that, we don't run the drive wheel really at an excessive rate. We want to do it at a normal field rate, because that will throw our numbers completely off.
We're going to seed a forage oat. We want to seed 90 pounds per acre. On the calibration chart, on the lid of the big seed box, the chart says that we should set our gear drive box at 4. So I just loosen the handle, lift, and put it on, the arrow goes on the 4. So that will give me the gear ratio. This is the drive wheel that actually is measuring how far you're going with your acreage. You turn this 66 times with this handle, just like this. And John already said you want to go fairly slow, like you would be traveling down the field at about 4 to 5 miles an hour. I seeded 55 acres with this thing with wheat last year. Man, it came up great.
Okay, so we're going to turn that drive wheel counterclockwise facing the knob, and we can see that our grain is metering out right here. We have already set it to the calibration that the chart requires us to be, and we're going to turn that wheel 66 times, and then we're going to weigh it in. You can see it coming down in between the openers here. So we have a scale. This is the scale that's provided in our toolbox. We want to put this on a level, hard space, not on the ground. It's not level. We can put it on the tailgate, or actually we can put it up here on top of the back of the drill here. We make sure we turn it on. We find the units that it measures in, and here we go. We're in pounds. We're going to go ahead and put our empty bucket on the scale.
So you'll need a bucket to put your seed in to weigh it, and then multiply it by 10.
Move it back just a little bit. That bucket weighs 1.25 pounds or so, so I'm going to press the tare button. Once I press that button, it's going to zero it out. And then the only thing in that bucket at this point is going to be seed. Okay, here we go.
So now we'll take the tarp out and pour the seed in the bucket.
Okay, so we've collected the seed in this tarp. Here it is right there. We're only doing a little bit. And then we're going to run it in here. Okay, and now we're going to weigh this bucket.
So we have 9 pounds of seed in the drill minus the weight of the bucket. So we will multiply that 9 pounds by 10. That will give us, we will be seeding 90 pounds of oat seed, forage oat seed in the field with the drill. Now you can calibrate your seed yourself if you feel like you've got dirty seed or uneven seed, or you can use the calibration chart, because the calibration chart we found to be very accurate. Depending on the seed that you're drilling into your soil with the drill, your seed company will tell you how deep your seed should be. If you're drilling grasses, alfalfas, clovers, 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch is the maximum. If you're drilling small grains like wheat, oats, triticale, you're going to be 3/4 to 1 inch to 1.5 inches depending on your field condition. So really the depth of your seed is determined by the seed you buy from your seed company. John's going to show you how to set the depth and adjust the depth on the drill.
We have 3 parts to this no-till drill as far as setting our seed into the ground. We have the coulters which open it. That's how a no-till drill works. It actually has a blade that sits in front and it cuts that ground. It breaks it open in preparation for the openers. The openers are where the seed is distributed right there. So it opens the ground and the seed drops in it. The next thing we have is we have our packers in the back. They close the ground over the top of the seed. Let's go back to the coulters. The only way we can adjust the depth into the ground with our coulters is by our hydraulics here on the drive wheels. In our toolbox, we have these aluminum blocks that go onto the cylinder, okay? They just snap right on, just like that there. We have one on it right now. We just added another one to that. That adjusts our depth for our coulters. The next setting we have is our openers. Now our openers follow right behind those coulters. And to adjust the depth or our seed placement, we have these T-knobs right here. We lift it up, we slide it forward, or we slide it back. If we slide it forward, that lifts the openers out of the ground. Therefore, it puts the seed depth shallow. If we pull it back, and I'm just going all the way with this, that's going to set that seed deep into the ground. And that's what we need to measure on. So we talked about the coulters, and the coulters are what opens up the ground in preparation for the openers. We also talked about, to adjust the depth of the coulters, we have to do it with our field wheels, and we have these blocks to put in. So when we set that coulter, it's imperative that we have that coulter depth 1/2 inch to 1 inch below the openers, 1/2 inch to 1 inch below. And remember, we do that by putting these blocks in and we set them in place like this here. Good enough, quick and easy?
If you go back and forth with your drilling pattern in your field and you raise your drill up to turn your corner and come back on the right next to the last seeded path, then at the end of your seeding you can clean up your corners or the ends of your field and not put pressure on your coulters and your openers. If you choose to just go in a circle around your field and seed in a circle, every time you turn that corner, raise the drill. It just puts too much pressure on the bearings and you'll actually knock the bearings out of the coulters and the openers. Be sure to follow that explicit instruction for us. Thank you.